Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of this audio series called Blackness. For those who may not know, for those who are tuning in for the first time, or even for the ones who are tuning back in and may have forgotten because it has been a minute since our last episode, my name is Zion Kiana, and I'm your host for this audio series called Blackness. Now, for those who may not be familiar with this show, just to give you a quick rundown, Blackness is a newly founded podcast/audio series founded under the Zexel Initiative in hopes to capture the broad spectrum of the Black experience. This podcast is really, a stepping stone to try to get us to step away from the thought that Black people or Black individuals can only be present in certain spaces, and really get us to acknowledge the fact that Blackness is dynamic, and that's really what it boils down to. And that's really what I hope to accomplish through this show, and we essentially kind of explore those themes through inviting through the guests we invite on here. And speaking of guests, the guest for today's episode is actually somebody that I happen to personally be close with. There's somebody who I've gotten a chance to meet in my time at Arizona State University, and just seeing the things they've been able to accomplish actually being at ASU, and then also the things they've been able to do post their graduation is something that's really stood out to me. And I knew kind of when I was trying to pick who I wanted to be the guest for this episode, I knew I wanted to be them. So without further ado, the guest for today's episode is Mr. Shannon Forman II. Shannon Forman is a former ASU defensive lineman who played between the years of 2018 to 2021. Upon graduating from ASU with a degree in criminal justice, he would then transition into a graduate assistant coach at ASU. So still being there to work with the team and work with a lot of their defensive players that were coming in for them. Now, after transitioning of that role of being a graduate assistant coach, Shannon actually went on to found his own football training program called Tackle for Loss Defensive Line Training, a program focused on developing the next generation of athletes through mentorship, technique, and discipline. On this series so far, we haven't actually had the chance to interview any athletes. And one thing I really want to do with this series is have a wide spectrum of people. So Shannon actually happens to be the first athlete/coach we've had on here, and I'm really excited for you guys to hear his perspective. Without further ado, thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Thank you. All right, everyone, thank you so much for being here with me today. Today I have the pleasure of having Mr. Shannon Forman with me. Would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself for the people who don't know?
How you doing? My name is Shannon Forman. I am from Blackness, Louisiana, born and raised. I am also a former college athlete at Arizona State University. I played defensive tackle, defensive end, and nose guard as well. And I'm also a newly entrepreneur to my training. It's called Tackle for Loss D-Line Training. And it's all in the state of Arizona, mostly the Phoenix, Avondale area.
Okay, perfect. So let's go ahead and get right into it. Why don't you tell us about more where you're from, what it was like growing up in Louisiana?
I'm from Blackness, Louisiana, a community called Scotlandville. I was able to have both my parents in my life. I am the oldest of 4 siblings as well. I was able to grow up with my mom and my dad being there, both being strict on me to the point where I ended up getting a scholarship at Arizona State. But being the oldest, it carried a lot of weight, meaning it was certain things I could do, but it was certain things I couldn't do because I'm the oldest. And me being the oldest, I paved the way for my younger siblings to keep going. I have a younger sibling who is Miss Louisiana. I had a brother who, he ended up deciding to play football his last 2 years of high school, and he ended up getting a scholarship to Tuskegee, and now he's into the refereeing in Louisiana. And I also have a future nurse of a sister who graduated from Middle Tennessee last year.
Okay, that's a blessing. Yeah, very talented family, it seems. So how long would you say you've been playing football for?
I've been playing football since I was 5.
Parents' influence or just?
I was a big kid growing up. So like the average kid weight for a 5-year-old was probably, I think, I forgot how much it was, but I was over it. And my mom was like, we're not going to I'm not going to have a kid that's big and sloppy. She wanted me to be athletic. So, and then my dad, he also played basketball at Memphis. And so my first love was basketball, but I saw that football, you can take all your frustrations out on the person in front of you from just being who you are. I think football is a stepping tool for like getting out of depression or getting out of any issues that you have at home. Like I use football as a tool to relieve myself in a way of not stressing about my weight or stressing about somebody saying something to me that offends me. So every time I did football, I used to just take whatever somebody said probably at 2:00 and use it at 5:00 at practice or either what somebody said to me the night before, I carry it with me the whole night and then I'll go out to the practice field and use that frustration and dominate. So for me, it was just more so somebody saying that you're not good enough push me to be the best I can.
Absolutely. I think that's a beautiful way to channel that energy. Now, when you first started playing, what position did you initially start off?
I was a big dude, so I ended up playing O-line. I was an offensive guard. And so me being an offensive guard, my cousin was a quarterback. So it it was always protection with my cousin because I was like, man, I'm not gonna let nobody hurt my cousin. But then as years went on and I realized it, I was like, I don't like to play offensive line because I don't like blocking for people. I'd rather take all my frustrations out on the offense than be on the offense. So that was my mindset when I decided to be a D lineman. But I mean, it was just a lot that I chose to do, and that was mainly to focus on what's gonna help me get my mom bills paid, what's gonna help me not have to worry about paying for school. That was the biggest thing for me. And being in Baton Rouge, Louisiana it's not a lot of opportunities out there. You know, I look at being in Arizona as a stepping tool to being successful because a lot of kids, they will look at me as I made it. And I got out the slums, as we would call it, and went somewhere else. And now I'm doing new things.
For sure. No, I think that's beautiful. At what age do you feel like you really saw football as kind of like your ticket to other opportunities? Was it kind of like high school, or when do you feel that was when you realized that?
So for me, like I told you, basketball was my first love. So I played basketball from 3 years old to I was a sophomore. I would say sophomore, junior year. That's when I figured out football was my love because I started seeing people that I played ball with get taller and taller, and I'm just still at that 6'2" level. And I'm like, I can't be a 6'2" center for the rest of my life. But I looked at football when people started getting offers around me that I worked out with. And I was like, I have to find something within me to figure out what's my love. I could do basketball and just go to school and pay for school, or I can do football and get school paid for and get a degree out of it. And for me, it was more so I'm gonna do what's gonna give me that degree. And my mindset was I wanted to go LSU. When you a kid from Louisiana, you always look at Death Valley and you're saying to yourself, like, I have to go to LSU. But, you know, the way life is, it's all about a life of proving yourself. And so when LSU didn't come knocking at my door, I said, I'm gonna make them remember who they turned their back on. So going into my senior year, that's when it switched for me and made football my priority. I ended up being one of the finalists for the Players of the Year. I ended up getting, I would say, 8 offers in probably a span of 2 weeks, just because of the amount of work, the amount of time, and just blood, sweat, and tears that I dedicated to being good. But the biggest motivation was for that year was the flood that we had in Louisiana. I was fortunate to still have a house, but our house wasn't in the top shape, and we did have to have repairing, and we had to move in with my grandfather. So our house never really got flooded. It just was, we had to tune up certain things, and it required us to not stay in our house. So that was but me being at my grandfather's house, seeing my mom cry about the house, and my dad work doubles so he can make sure we have food to eat, and then also make sure our house is repaired. That was motivation for me to say, I want to go and make sure my mom and my dad don't have to worry about bills or having to add on to bills by me going to school, and they have to pay for me to go to school.
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful testament in terms of how you're able to channel kind of that, those obstacles in your life and channel it into, motivation. I think that's absolutely beautiful. Yeah, so I take it, the jump from a place like Louisiana to Arizona was like way different, huh?
It was different. It was different. I joked to my mom for about, I think, 3 weeks, because I would take Ubers. So I'll do training in the morning, and then I'm free in the afternoon. So I'll go to Scottsdale Mall, or I'll go to Chandler Mall. I'll go get something to eat, stuff like that. So I would take Ubers. And because some of my teammates, they were tired, they sleep, or they already went home. So that's the thing. But I was able to take Ubers and go to those places. And every time I get in the car, the biggest thing that people will say to me is, "You're not from here." And I will say, "Nah, I'm from Louisiana," proudly. And they'll be like, "Yes, I understand." And the worst thing that a woman told me was, "Don't say yes, ma'am," to me. And I said, huh? That's like, I used to get bat in the mouth because of that. But it was, "Don't say yes, ma'am," to me. And I was like, and I asked her why. She said, "'Cause that made me feel old." So, and I told her later, I said, respectfully, I can't say that. I can't tell you yes. Because if I say yes, then it's going to make me feel like my mama didn't raise me well. And she looked at me and she said, "I understand." Every time I say yes, ma'am, to somebody, they'll be like, "You're not from Louisiana." I mean, not from Louisiana. You're not from Arizona, because your manners are so well. And I was like, yes. And after that, they'll say, "Don't say yes, ma'am." So for me, it was like, I'm going to keep my southern roots with me wherever I go, because my mom trained that in me. And me having a son, I'm going to train that into him as well, because that's a yes, ma'am, and no, sir can take you so far in this world. And you saying yes to somebody that's 50 and you're 15, that's like, I said that one time to my mom, and she said, "You ain't got no manners." That's just how I was raised. And I always say Mrs. or Mr. And people will say, that's my mom. That's my mom name. That's not my name. I was like, well, I'm young. Like, they'll ask me how old I am. I said, I'm 18. And they'll be like, "Well, yeah, don't call me Mister. Just call me Ted." I'm like, nah, I can't do that. Like, literally, I couldn't say it. For the first 3 weeks, I was like a dog who was like kind of shy and didn't want to do nothing. I was so offended by certain people, because I'm like, this is how I'm raised. You can't tell me how I was raised to stop doing it. because at the same time, if I stop doing that, it's going to carry on back home when I go back home. And I tell my grandfather, all right, John, he going to look at me like, who are you? Yeah. So it's like, nah, I kept it the same way that I was raised to do. So
Nah, okay, I hear that. So let's talk about how you got to Arizona in the first place. So I know you said you got multiple offers in high school. Let's talk about that. Like, what made you pick ASU or Arizona State out of all the offers you received?
So I had a couple of scholarships to go places. One was Tulane, Arkansas State, Colorado, Missouri, and Arizona State. So that was my top 5. And in the recruiting process, you have 5 visits that you take. So I took, I don't know, but I took 4 visits because Colorado and Arizona State was trying to do the same weekend. And I said, nah. And then I also had ties with one of the running back coaches at Arizona State that got me here. So he reached out to me and he like told me before the season, he was like, if you have a good season, you have XYZ sacks, tackles, pressures, I'm going to fight for you to come here. And I said, yeah, okay. I've been lied to a lot. I ain't trust a lot of people at that time. So I listened to what he said and he kept his word. But by that time, I was kind of leaning towards Tulane and Arkansas State. The reason why I had those relationships with Arkansas State and Tulane, and I was leaning towards them, was because of the relationship they had with me. Like I told you, I was unfortunately hit with the flood in Louisiana my senior year. And during that time, Tulane, Arkansas State, they reached out to me. I ain't saying that they gave me money. If the NCAA is here, they didn't give me nothing. But they made sure I was okay. And then I was able to do a lot of things that I couldn't do at another school like Southern or things like that, like bring my siblings with me. They were fortunate enough to help me get an extra ticket for my sister to go to the football games, or my mom, my grandfather, all of them. And they really were like, they didn't really want me, they needed me, as they said. I remember having that conversation with Tulane and telling them I wasn't going, and looking back at it, I'm like, yikes. Arkansas State, the same thing. Arkansas State, like both Tulane and Arkansas State head coaches were literally calling my phone every day. Like, hey, how you doing, Shannon? I just want to make sure you're okay. Then when I got to Arizona State, I just saw the name and I said, oh, I got to go here. And so just the school and the environment and what conference they were in, I'm like, yeah, I got to go here. But if I can do it again, I probably will pick Arizona State because that's who got me the degree. That's who taught me a lot about football, and it helped me establish my family. It helped me find my wife. It helped me figure out who's my person. So it was just a big thing for me. And so, but Arizona State was the biggest decision I probably made in my life.
Wow. That's a beautiful journey. So would you say, so I guess now that once we got to ASU, what was it like kind of adjust? I know you talked about the food was a big thing, but like even socially wise, what I'm saying, like Arizona, like it's a predominantly Hispanic state, but on the other side, it is still pretty predominantly white. So like, what was that like coming from like a state, where you see a bunch of people looking like you, then coming to a state where you're kind of like a fish out of water?
I was scared. I was scared. I mean, honestly, you listen, I look at a lot of cartels movies and I'm from Louisiana where racism is real. And out here, racism exists, but not as much as it exists in Louisiana. Like, I was so afraid to talk to people of the opposite race because in Louisiana, all I talked to was black kids. I came from a predominant black high school. And yes, we were small, but also I still would go talk to other predominant black high school because that was in the area that I went to school at. So it was tough for me to come to a predominant white institution and develop relationships because I was scared of how they portray me or how would they look at me. But when I realized that most of these kids are friendly and they want you to succeed, then I was like, oh yeah, this is cool. And I mean, obviously Arizona is just so openly friendly. Like you could be next to a person of the opposite race and they're so excited to be around you. Mm-hmm. And the biggest thing that people would say about me was my slang. Certain things I say to people, they'll look at me and be like, what are you talking about? And I'll be like, in Louisiana, we say book sack.
Wait, book sack?
Book sack.
So like a book sack. Oh, like you carry your books in it. Okay.
Yeah, like a back. I call it backpack. I call it book sack. And they'll be like, what is a book sack? And I'm like, what's on your back? And they're like, a backpack? I was like, yes, a book sack. That's what we call it. My accent when I came out here was so thick. So I wasn't used to people saying what. Like they say what in a way. It made me step back out of my shell and was like, so you want to fight me or something? Because in Louisiana, people wouldn't say what unless they want to fight you. Like what you say, and it'd come off as disrespect. Yeah. But with when they trying to understand you, they'll say, huh? Say that again one more time. Okay.
But not what.
Yeah, like what? And I'm like, yeah, I gotta step back right quick. It was for real. It was very tough to adapt to that because I was like, stop saying what to me. I don't like that. Like it just don't go right for me. And I remember it was this guy that I went on an official visit with. He signed when I signed, and he said what to me, and I said, I like you as a friend, but please don't say what no more because I'm not used to it. And he was like, that's just how we say it out here. I said, okay, I got you. But he was like, he's like, I'm sorry. And ever since then, me and him has been cool since. So, but I mean, obviously, them asking me to repeat myself multiple times, it was like very hard. And I was like, I didn't like talking around people when I first got here because I didn't like when people said, what? It just kept making me mad. And then I was fortunate enough to have, I'm trying to figure out how many Louisiana kids that we had on the football team. I had like 4 or 5 guys when I first came in. Just from different parts. So I had 3 from New Orleans. I had 1 from Baton Rouge and another one from Captain, Louisiana. And they welcomed me in like a little brother. They bullied me. That's all I can say. They bullied me and they made me feel welcome. Obviously one is my fraternity brother and another one is my son's godfather. And the other 3 are very close to me right now. So
in terms of like kind of that cultural piece, I know you talked about, kind of feeling that, having that fear of, talking to people and kind of being, kind of just some disconnect, like in terms of like some cultural stuff. How would you say like at any point you started to kind of question like how you showed up, like how you presented yourself?
I mean, if you're not true to who you really are, it can come off in a way for you to be very like I'm trying to figure out that word, just kind of to be more in the shell, your own shell, and like make you doubt how you presented yourself. But at the same time, if you're true about who you are, it doesn't matter. I think my freshman year, I was so much trying to get likeness from everybody because at the same time, that's who I am. That's who I am. Like my mom raised me to say, to really be comfortable with being uncomfortable in situations. Like if I'm in a party and I know 10 dudes over there don't like me and 1 dude over here like me, and it's a bunch of people that I know, I'm going to be comfortable. I'm going to walk around because at the same time, I'm already here. That's the thing. So I was just looking for approval from everybody. Then when I realized that a lot of people are not with you and in a way, and they will turn their back on you, I just said, all right, if you don't like me, I'm about to move in another direction and just keep walking.
Let's talk about kind of some of your student life now. I mean, obviously you had that football aspect, but, like, what was kind of your student life like? What was it like getting involved with the Bros for the first time? What was it like, kind of intermingling with some of the other Black kids out here?
So, when I came out here, it was very business wise. I wanted to do football. I wanted to graduate. And I also wanted to become a brother of Omega Psi Phi. That was really on my list. I swear. I wanted to start. I wanted to start in football. I wanted to make the dean's list. I wanted to graduate. I wanted to be a leader on the football team, and I also wanted to be a member of Omega Psi Phi. The reason why I wanted to be a member of Omega Psi Phi is because that's all I saw when I was growing up. And I wanted to be a part of that fraternity because I seen a lot of like-minded men together, and they had fun, but they also handled they carry themselves in a different way. And so, and I was fortunate enough to have an uncle who was a brother of Omega Psi Phi, and that's now that's my fraternity brother. And so, and I was able to see what he did and how he carried himself as well outside of the fraternity. And I said I wanted to be just like that. Mm-hmm. So, but it was, for me, honestly, I was an interest after my freshman year, and I took a long period to get my grades up. That was the biggest thing for me, was getting my grades. And then I crossed I would say my senior year, and then I played another year at Arizona State due to COVID. So I graduated my true senior year. Then my graduate senior year, I was able to just focus on football.
Absolutely. Wow. I love that for you. So, all right. So we got you at ASU. You graduated 2021, correct?
Yes.
2021. Absolutely. And what was your degree in?
Criminal justice.
Criminal justice. Okay. What made you want to do that? I know your main focus was football. So was criminal justice like something you had on the side? Was it just more of like a side passion, or?
So I changed my major 3 times. That's the crazy thing about college. You're going to change your major if you don't like it. So I started with business. Then I took a stats class, and I had a teacher that I could not understand. And it was like, oh my God. I'm like, his accent is so thick, because it was like, I can't understand what he's saying. And then he's going fast in stats. So when you're doing stats, you got to do all kinds of formulas and stuff like that. And I'm like, I'm trying to figure it out. It's like 3 weeks I was trying to figure it out. I was trying to figure it out. They got me a tutor at the school. And I was like, can I drop this class and change my major? And they was like, okay, what you want to do it to? I said, I want to be in communication. I'm thinking communication gonna be a cakewalk. I love to be an analyst one day. I took one class. I was doing great in the public speaking. I was doing good in the debates. But when it came down to the papers, I said, yeah, this is not for me. They were saying, oh yeah, we need a 10-page essay, 15-page essay. And I was like, man, what in the world is going on? Like, what? It's no way in hell that I can write a 10-page essay in 4 weeks. Yeah. So I was like, nah. And I was like, and then, you start hearing that Law and Order thing. Dun dun. It's just, I was like, I always wanted to be a criminal justice major. Let me do this. And I went to a criminal justice class, and I was like, this is not hard at all. I learned is laws. I got to learn laws. Oh, felonies. Oh yeah, I love it. And then I was fortunate enough to have classmates that love football. So it would be like, all right, you can help me with my test. you can help me study. And then be like, yeah, like, you got me with tickets. I was like, shit, hey, here you go. Here you go. So it was good. But that made me turn to criminal justice. And, my mom actually is a criminal justice major as well. So she helped me out a lot. So that was big. For me to graduate in criminal justice and she graduated in criminal justice.
Yeah, no, that's an achievement. Congratulations. Now, but you would still say, like, given your path after college, football is still very much the forefront of your passion.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So like after I got done with football, I remember my last year was a hot mess. So going into my last year, I had to have foot surgery, and I was like, I don't want to be in college no more. Yeah, I'm done with college because I'm at this point in time. We didn't have NILs. We didn't have NILs. We didn't have any name, image and likeness going on. So it was like, I'm ready. I'd rather go to the league or I'm ready to just coach or something. And so I'll take shots to my foot. Literally, before every game, I'm taking a shot to my foot that's painful as hell. And then midway through the season, I tore my labrum in my shoulder and dislocated my shoulder. And I I was like, why me? That's because like when you play the game from the age of 5 to 22, you want to go to that next level. You want to go and experience it. Like I'm looking at my closest friends, Damone Clark and Chris Allen. One played at LSU, Damone played at LSU, Chris played at Alabama, and they won national championships. And I'm at Arizona State, and I'm just like depressed because I'm like, I want to win that too. But it didn't work out that way. And when I got hurt my senior year, it was like, well, damn. Like, what was it? I started questioning God. And during that time, I wasn't going to church. I was really not myself. I had my wife, but we didn't go to church because Sundays was film days. And I was like, questioning like, why now? Like, what's going on? Like, tell me why. And so it was tough. And so I remember my D-line coach at the time, Robert Rodriguez, he came to me and he was like, Shannon, you'll be a great coach somewhere. And I want you to think about that before, you decide to shut it down for the year or, you finish the season in the bowl game and you go your separate ways. And I said, okay. So I remember I told them, I said, I want to play my senior night and I'm done after that. I'll still go to the bowl game. I'll coach there, but I'm done. Like that was my last game. And I remember played my senior night halfway. I was then on like a dog would like a dog going to the veterinarian to get put down. I'm like, all right, I'm ready. So, but I remember playing the game. The next weekend, I'm going to see my brother play in the state championship game. And I'm literally on the way back to get ready for my surgery. I literally was going to have surgery that Wednesday, and I was going to fly in Monday afternoon. And so I spent the whole weekend out there. I'm enjoying my family, having a blast. My D-line coach called me and said, hey, Shannon. I said, yes. I said, yes, sir. I know you finished. I know you done. But can we get you for the bowl game? I said, Coach, let me talk to my mom and my daddy about this. So I said, boom. All right. So I told my mom and my daddy. My mom and my daddy was like, all right. I mean, if you have shoulder surgery, it's going to be a 6-month process. Do you want to take a grad assistant job? and try again next year. I was like, I don't want to play in the game, Mama. I don't want to play in the game. I'm hurting. I hurt waking up. I hurt going to sleep. And so at that time, my mom was like, you have to use them just like they're using you. So I remember she said, what do you want to do? I said, I want to coach. She said, okay, tell them you'll play, but they better make sure that you're a grad assistant. And I said, okay. I said, but I also want to get the surgery because I'm hurting. And she said, well, tell them you better have a surgery waiting on you when you get back from the bowl game. I said, all right, cool. So I remember the next morning, like around 10 o'clock Arizona time, I get on the phone with my D-line coach. I said, hey, coach, I'll play, but I need a for sure answer to be a grad assistant. I need to be a grad assistant. And as soon as the game over with, I need to have a surgery planned out, everything, because this doctor that I was supposed to have is booked all the way up into to February. And they was like, all right, we'll make it work. We'll make it work. I go to Vegas. That whole week, my mom, my dad, they all had COVID, so they couldn't go to my last game. That was the biggest thing that I was hurting about, but at the same time, made fun of it because I was enjoying my last time playing college football. But shit, hell, I'm in Vegas, and then I'm 21. Hey, blackjack, and I'm about to go get me a nice little old fashioned because it's free. So it was good for me at that time, and I made a lot of fun of it, playing out there, experiencing new things, but also winning at blackjack, that was good too. But it was good, and then having the opportunity to play under Antonio Pierce, Herm Edwards, Robert Rodriguez, Marvin Lewis, people like those guys, and then also playing with Jaden Daniels, Rashad White, DJ Davidson, Brandon Ayuk, Chase Lucas, Jack Jones, N'Keal Harry. That started to go through my head too, because I'm like, I didn't play with a lot of studs. I played with a lot of studs, and I'm like, dang, it's great. And for the people that listening to this, it's not a stud that Drewski likes. I'm talking about a stud, like an athlete that can go. That's what we say. But it was good though. It was good to really play with those guys and be able to play in the Pac-12, one of the best conferences at the time, since now that the Pac-12 is gone. But at one of the times to be able to play in that conference was a blessing. So, and then also the coaching too.
I'm glad. I think that's kind of a full circle moment. Like it kind of comes like it wasn't the best happy ending, but I feel like you were still able to fulfill your love for the game and still, end it in a beautiful way. So I'm happy for you.
Yeah.
Now, what was that coaching experience like though?
I hated it. I hated it. That was the thing. I hated it because it was showing you that you got to humble yourself. That was the only thing I hated about it, because you're humbling yourself. But and if I had to go back and do it again, I probably would do it better, because at the same time, it's preparing you for this profession that we were in. And me coming from playing football, I'm like, oh, I'm about to leave at like 3:00. Nah, big dog, you might stay you gotta stay to 9. And I'm like, huh? And they was like, yeah, this is a job now. You're a coach. I'm like, like I remember when they first put me on as a grad assistant, when they say, all right, we're going to meet up at 3:00, I'm going to take a nap at 12. Like from 12 to 3, I'm napping, and I'm just trying to clear my mind. And I'm like, yo, I'm tired. I'm tired, because like you be there. You have to be. So the expectation as a grad assistant is very, very, very high. They expect you to be here. They expect you to be there. They expect you to know this. They expect you to be the leader. And for me, I was expected to be a leader as a player, but not being a grad assistant where I got to listen to these dudes MF me here, MF me there. Why are you doing this? Like, oh yeah, you the ops. That's what they say. That's the stuff they say. You the ops. You the ops. I can't talk to you. I'm like, yo, what? But I mean, at the end of the day, that's when you realize that you're not one of them no more.
Mm-hmm.
You're one of those coaches that is young, but you can't hang out with them no more.
You still gotta be responsible.
Like, I gotta. Do I want to go to this pool party that my fraternity is hosting right now, or do I want to stay dialed into figuring out how to beat Kayla Williams? I mean, we only play Kayla Williams once a year, and this might determine if our coaching staff keep their job. Because when you think about it, when a new coaching staff come, they bring in whoever they want. So it's like, yeah, I can't go to the football party today. I remember I was so tired at one time. Like I'll go to workouts. I mean, go to practice. And like I go to practice at 5:00 in the morning. I get up 4:00, 5:00, I'm out the door. I get to the stadium like 5:15, make sure I get everything situated for meetings, and I wouldn't get home till 10:30 at night. But then as the season progressed, I started getting home around like 8:00, 9:00, that time. So I still had enough time to sleep, had enough time to eat, sleep, and then get back to the facility. But I remember at one point I was there 6 to 10, getting paid. I was getting paid probably enough money to pay the rent. Enough money to pay the rent and get gas in my tank. Because, I mean, obviously, you got to learn you got to persevere through certain things. So, like, I mean, every time we had food, I get me a container. I get the food. I put it in the refrigerator. Take it out the refrigerator. Take it home with me every day. That was my dinner. Mm. And then, or I'll eat it on our breaks where I'm making cut ups. I'm doing the little things. So I remember I probably was. I think I was basically eating at the stadium. I wasn't getting groceries at all. Like I had a roommate. He worked. I go to the facility. He'll have food at the house. I tell him when I get home. That's literally what it was. So, but it was good. I was very. It was a very humbling situation. And then, obviously, new coaches that came in. It was great.
Nah, that's actually fire. Yeah, I think that's some good insight. I know you actually have your own training practice now, don't you?
Yes, I do. I train D linemen in the Phoenix and Avondale, Tolleson, really the West Valley area. Every Saturday from 10 to 2. I started this vision in February, and it took me, my wife, and just a goal that I wanted to do to get this thing going. And I was like, all this information that I know about the game and I picked up from my coach at ASU and going to coaching clinics and learning from other people. And also going to the coaching clinic in Charlotte, it just woke me up and said, all right, if I don't have a college job, well, let me train college players. And so I was able to do that, and I came up with the name one weekend. got the logo situated, and then that Sunday I dropped my logo, dropped the name, and dropped what I wanted. So now,
Absolutely. And I see you guys do training every Saturday. Do you feel like in working with, the kids you've had the chance to work with, do you feel like you've been able to learn and expand more on your coaching, or do you?
I'm still developing. I don't want to say I master anything yet because at the same time I'm still young at this. Um, but I mean, it helped me be a better teacher in a way because you're teaching more about certain things that will happen in the game to young men who are still trying to learn the game. So like, yes, I'm talking to these young men in a way to get them going, but they might not know what I'm talking about. So I have to explain it a little bit more to the point where they understand it. Like, all right, he's telling me this. He's telling me that. All right, let me make sure I get this. Let me make sure I get this situated. Let me make sure I get that situated. So, so it's just explaining the game in a different mindset to a younger man who's trying to figure it out compared to college players who know the game a little bit and all they need is a little tune up to their game.
So what do you see, like, what do you feel is the vision for your current practice now? Do you want to like make this your own thing? Would you like at some point would like to coach at the next level, or what's your personal vision you see for yourself now?
It's this guy, wherever guy is pursuing me to go. If God is telling me to pursue this as a nation business or a nationwide company, I'll do that. Or if God's telling me to push for college, I'll do that. I mean, right now it's just God will. I'm learning how to deal with certain things in my life. I mean, at one point I was questioning God, but now I'm at a point where I understand that God puts you through obstacles, and He's just preparing you for these oppositions that's happening. And I mean, He's been putting me through a lot of obstacles that I feel like I'm taking on the chin. So when the opposition come, I'm ready for it.
Cool. Yeah, I think honestly being open to just anything that the universe and God has prepared for you, I think is the best way to go about it. So for those aspiring to be, because I feel like you have the unique experience of being on both sides. You have the experience of being a player and a coach so for those like young men who are out there who are trying to become players, or, for those who are even aspiring to like coach their own team, what's some like words of encouragement or advice you could give to them?
I mean, focus on your goal. If your goal is to be the best player, be the best damn player that you can be. Because at the same time, nobody's going to hold your hand when you get to college. Nobody's going to pat you on your back. If their way of patting you on the back is telling you did something wrong. Because if they're not talking to you, that means something. If they talking to you, that means they want you to be better. And that's the mindset you got to have as a 18-year-old going to college or a 21-year-old that's in college. It's either kill or be killed, because now not only are you trying to go to the next level, but somebody that's the same age as you, that is the same size as you, trying to do the same thing. So it's just hard work. The hard work, the dedication, the blood, sweat, and tears that you put to the game is going to take you far enough. I think if I had to go back and do college, I'd do better because of the mindset I have now.
What's something that you've come to learn being a Black individual, being in your industry, being in your field, doing what you're doing? What's something you can offer to any young Black leaders out there trying to do their thing?
Work your tail off. I mean, I'm like, if that means waking up early in the morning, 3:00 in the morning, wake up at 3:00 in the morning, because at the same time, you're still on the West Coast where it might be 3:00 in the morning, but on the East Coast, it's 6:00. And the person that you're competing with probably already been up at 3:00 where you was at, getting it in, working out, making sure that he's at top notch shape so he can beat you. You know, I mean, I listened to Steve Harvey, and Steve Harvey said it's 24 hours in a day. Why waste 8 hours sleeping? Why wait 8 hours sleeping? Because 16 hours you gotta work. So out of the 16 hours you work, 8 hours going to work. Then all right, what you gonna do with the other 8 hours? Are you gonna take a nap for 2 hours out of those 8 hours, and then 6 hours are gonna be straight free time. What you gonna do with your free time? You gonna go to the club for 3 hours? Now you got 3 hours of of hard labor that you got to make up for because you sleep 8 hours out the day. So I listened to that and I was like, yeah, I don't sleep that much. but as a former college athlete, knowing what I know, knowing what I know, it's a challenge to be the best because you have somebody who's looking at you as prey. And I don't want to be prey. I don't want to be known as prey. I want to be known as a predator. Because at the same time, I can kill everybody up in here if I wanted to. Because at the same time, you got to have that killer mindset. I think that is what everybody needs. And that is to have that killer mindset of, all right, who is the best in my field? All right. All right. Who's next? Who's next? Who's next? Who's next? Who's next? All right. Boom. All right. Every week I got to get better. So for instance, for me, if I would have took it serious as I thought of it my senior year, I would have had a kill list of who was the best D tackle in the nation and what his stats was. All right, his stats is he has 7 sacks. All right, I'm gonna knock that down real fast next year. All right, boom. All right, who got drafted? Who was the first D tackle to get drafted in last year's draft? Okay, yeah, this. All right, let me take this down. It's just certain things that you got to knock down. Similar with coaches, like who was the D-line coach for the Arizona State Sun Devils? Okay, how many people did he produce? All right, shit, I gotta make sure I produce more than what he did. That goes to a Division I college or that went to a Power 4 now institution. So just you gotta create a kill list. And when you make a kill list, that's going to make you a better person in your profession.
So this podcast, we're all about trying to, show the diversity and just the overall multifacetedness of the Black experience. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think the beautiful thing about Black people is that we come from all walks of life with our own stories and kind of our own experiences that make us who we are. So my final question to you is, what is Blackness to you? That's a question we ask all our guests. There's not specifically a right answer, but in your eyes, what is Blackness?
And when I think of Blackness, you just think about beautiful. I mean, everybody, when you look at at the world today, you look at how women portray themselves. You look at how men portray themselves. You look at the style that we as the African Americans in the nation is doing. Every female want to be a black queen. You think about it, the lip injections, the BBLs, the breast implants. They want to look like a black queen. The way we wear clothes, every other race want to be black. So when you think of black, you think of beautiful, beauty, Alex, not Alex. You look at just the reality of beauty and everything. I think that we don't take a chance at at blacks in our country as being beautiful. Having 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 black on your skin is everybody was taught like, oh, that's bad. No, it's not bad. It's actually beautiful. We don't want to don't try to go and pale your skin because you feel like it's too dark. No, be appreciative of it. I know I joke around with a lot of people about it, but at the same time, it's like when you think of blackness, you think of beauty. You know, people don't take the time to just really understand what it means to be black. You know, they look at it like as a curse because we've been kind of mindseted to think being black is bad. And, you know, we have those Candace Owens, we have those Kanye's in the world, but, you know, and they make it seem like we're puppets to this, where in reality, we just need to be more vocal and be more leaders. So I think embrace being black, not repel from it. So, yeah.